Recording in progress.
Do whatever you want.
John has a hard time getting to do 6. Back in.
That's on. Yes.
All right, 6:30, should we go ahead and get started? Roll call.
Aaron Fallon.
Excuse.
Here.
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 All right, so on the workshop today is a discussion on survey. So I'll read the synopsis here really quick. For the last 4 summers, the city has asked residents to complete a survey. The first 2 were about the general feeling of the city and desires within the community. The third survey revolved around the city's strategic plan and was a key tool in developing the plan. The current survey being wrapped up focuses on the redevelopment of the downtown zone, and again, will be a key tool in developing the plan. One of council's goals for the 2024-2025 fiscal year was to continue the tradition of a community survey rolled out during and around the community picnic that focused on general city performance and a deeper dive into the fire and EMS department. This goal was set as the city was being awarded the grant to complete the downtown revitalization project. The completion of the downtown survey was unknown at the time. In addition, the city's funding for the community picnic was removed from the budget and the event was presumed canceled until city staff were aware a few days before. Because of the downtown survey in progress and the tight turnaround to create a survey for the picnic, staff decided to not present a survey. Staff did discuss the best options to move forward to complete the goal assigned by council. City Administrator Bennett reached out to companies who assist cities in completing surveys. After meeting them, it became clear that staff and council need to dial in what the goal of the survey would be. Depending on the package and/or size of the survey, the costs range from $5,000 to $15,000 to complete. Given this expense, completion of the goal is unlikely this fiscal year. However, discussion now will allow staff to prepare a budget and survey for the next fiscal year. One of the items discussed with the survey companies is getting actionable information which will follow that. In the links and attached are examples to review and discuss. Below is a link from OnPoint, who did the survey for Payson, Utah, as well as a link to Polko, which is the other company we talked to. In attaching on that link, the first one from OnPoint, they have kind of a basic survey they put out that kind of gauges the most important topics to each resident. And then they ask them how they feel on that topic, how the city's doing. So it kind of narrows it down to looks like 20 major items and how they're feeling on it. And that could change. That's their basic kind of starting point survey. And they said that one I think was about $9,000, depending on how detailed we want to get. And then Polko actually has a small cities pilot project they're working on. And I think these guys were about the same price. But what it is access to a database or a bank of prepared survey questions where the city can go in, take those questions and build their own survey out of it. Polko will review it, make sure it's a valid survey with the combination of questions. We send it out, we collect the data, we analyze it. We can send the data over to them for a quick analysis. This is what we're interpreting, do you agree? But other than that, the Polko version of it is mostly done, the back end work is done by city staff. But it is a database of hundreds of, maybe thousands of questions that we can draw from, depending on what we're trying to do with the survey. So that's the research I found. But again, I think that the bigger question is, what is council's goal with these surveys? Is it a general overview of city performance that we can actually use as a tool every 1 to 3 years to gauge our performance? Or is it more of a deeper dive, a point in time review of each department? Because if we do a deep review on the service the fire department reviews or provides, then come back and review it 6 years later, the data is opposite effect. So it'll give us a good snapshot of time, but moving forward, we would be able to really go back and
it is not off the top of my head. Did we budget for this for the budget session?
No, the idea was more of a basic survey put together by staff that we would build and administer. But then the more we talked about it, the more we really should get a third party involved to make sure it's actually a statistically valid survey that we can use the data to build our goals forward. Because, you know, we might get, I love one of the taglines that Polko use, just is your city ran by the 3 loudest people in town, which, you know, happens everywhere, but having these will allow us to reach out to everybody in town and get a true understanding of how residents feel.
That answer your question. Sigurd.
So, thanks. And good report, I appreciate that. So look, when cities I've worked for that have done this, it's been a biannual for every 2 years. And they use the same survey company each time. So you have trend data over decades, you know, and you can see how the city's doing when it makes efforts to improve things. That's like, let's say you rank poorly on streets maintenance, you know, and that's a recurring method. Then we start to allocate more resources to improve. Do you see a reflection in the community from the efforts the city's making? And that is, you know, it's a key metric in my mind on how cities should operate. We should understand the concerns of our citizens. We should strive for excellence in all our public service. And this gives us excellent data to do that. So I'm in favor of that template. I agree. I don't think staff should do it. I think it should be hired out by a professional surveying company who can do the random sampling and make sure we have a valid picture of the community. It's a lot of work. They put a lot of thought into how they build the questions. If you don't do the questions right, you'll get, you know, wonky answers. You know? So there's a lot of thought behind that. And there's just too much literature for us to try to go read.
Oh, yeah, there's people's entire careers dedicated
Just
to
do
that.
this. Yeah. They do it well. And so that would be my hope, that we would budget for that type of, you know, program in the next fiscal.
I appreciate that and I agree with that and I do appreciate the continuity of a similar company doing it. And I'm hoping maybe when you have time, not a lot of time right now, but maybe checking with the University of Oregon Planning Department, they did our strategic planning survey. A lot of these similar questions were even how you think the city is doing those questions. And to see what it would cost for them to organize it in a fashion that would be like a biannual. So I guess checking with Amanda, who we see now for the downtown revitalization committee, and seeing if that's something they could provide on. That might be nice, right? I am of the opinion that we don't have the budget at this moment, and having just done a survey with our community, extensive, including inviting folks in last year, and now specifically focused on downtown, might be interesting to see what that looks like when it is a, how are we doing? We know a lot of the priorities.
And my other concern is survey fatigue. We've done 4 years in a row now. I don't know, Bernard, if that was ever a concern in your past.
Well, I'm aware of this, and it kind of depends the nature of the survey. The ones that I was referencing were citywide, and you're reviewing all the services the city is in charge of. Not to mention contact. It's fascinating. One of the first questions they will ask citizens, how many times you've had contact with the city in the last year?
Yeah.
And it's shocking how few have had zero contact.
Yep.
Because most of their contact is paying utilities. They don't call fire, they don't call EMS, they're not calling for a pothole. It's very rare that they actually interact with it. So anyway, but as far as other surveys, a lot of those are on specific areas, like a planning issue or an economic development issue. So they would try to take a random sample, but then, make sure it's not being double surveyed. And it's something that every city needs to be aware of. Yeah.
I just kind of want to recap the comments we had so far, make sure we're all like on the same page. So it sounds like what I heard you saying was that surveys can be consistent, otherwise you don't get the actionable intelligence that's trends over time. And if you're changing the questions every single year, that you'll lose that trend line. That's very, very important. And then I think if what I heard Baker saying, we just did a big survey, looked at downtown revitalization plan, the strategic plan. We have a lot of action already. So maybe it sounds so important doing another survey this year, but to instead focus our resources on developing a survey that budget. Correct. Mr. Keller, Mr. Compton, any thoughts on this subject?
Well, my thoughts is we're seeing this one nearby on point, and we've got police and services and everything down at the bottom where our citizens usually have it at the top.
Say that again. That's just random.
This is random.
Yeah, this is a previous one done with the city of Payson, Utah, that they allowed to be shared.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is just an example.
Then I'll go to the other point. We're 3 audits behind. Don't have the money. Well, those things are caught up. No.
And that's consistent with what you said already,
Yeah.
How many studies are we gonna do? Let's, how much data do we need to collect? That's kind of your, we're behind on our audit, where's the money?
Right. I'm not worried about that. Has nothing to do with that. This is planning, like not even this year. This is planning for next year. We're building this budget. Maybe. If we want to. Like, you were saying that this is a 1 to 3 year cycle that we could do. We could do it every 3 years. It would give us data on basic, not, if we wanted to be more like get data, but not be so spread out cheaper option, we do like something relatively generic that just tests the waters across the board every 3 years. I'm sure that if we stuck to that, it wouldn't like we're not going to be in 2 years from now. We're not going to be behind. That's
And I think
If they
that
stick to the
that's,
time.
I mean, hopefully, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, Mr. Miller, but I don't think you have an issue with the data and the surveys. Really, the issue it sounds like you have is we don't have, we don't know where we stand financially. We're behind on an audit. It's makes you uncomfortable to be spending $15,000 on a survey until we get our audits. Do you think that's is that accurate? It's not the data collection that you're taking issue with. It's paying for the survey. Our finances are behind.
matter. It's
Right, and I think that I just am bringing that up because I think that you guys are both saying very similar things. I didn't feel like we were opposed.
I also think that we need to look at 4 companies because, I mean, this basin, the sample size is bigger than ours. So that doesn't like small city data collection way different than medium to large city or even like a small town. You have 16, 17 people, a sample, like a valid sample size, a couple hundred people. You have to make sure that those couple hundred are picked right or randomly selected or else data is just garbage. Not worth the money spent it on. So I think we need to do more research on it because stuff like that is small samples. And you want to change anything, but drop it down.
Hold on 1 second. We haven't heard from Mr. Keller yet. If you have anything to contribute before we.
I echo Mr. Miller. I feel like it's a little frivolous to spend 10 grand on a survey at this moment of time. We could skip by and do some Google surveys to get some sort of data. Yes, it's generally the same exact people that fill it out, but it shows us trends as you had alluded to earlier. And then to look at Mr. Compton's point, like that's their job. Their job is to get the sample size. Their job is to look at the demographics, get the right demographics, analyze all that stuff, and fix it. Like, so I agree with.
Yeah, the earliest this would happen would be the next budget for 25.
So right now, really, you're just trying to get some direction from council so that we can maybe reach out and get an accurate forecast.
Correct.
For the cost to actually do the work that council's.
Correct, yeah, exactly.
It's really.
I want to echo that. I agree with Mr. Miller and get the, Mr. Compton, now is not the right time, but it is good to think about for our budget year. Maybe as time goes on, there'll be a time that you ask this council, what questions do you want on that survey? What data do you want to collect? Because now we have samples, and then again, checking with University of Oregon, who did a huge months long collection to say, with your interns and your staff that you worked with the city of Cascade, here's the questions. Council came up, how much more charges or what to collate that data according to these questions, or is it just to check because we've already to show our good faith trust in them, we already had them do a survey, and so again, as we look at other options, I think it'd be great for this body to suggest what are we looking for, because we don't have police servants, we have sheriff, we have different things that other cities have, but we don't have. And so this body might know some of the data we want that the organization wouldn't know. So eventually asking this body would send you questions, you collate, we talk, and then we get bids from other organizations as well as no rush. Obviously, I feel like the community can feel confident. We did great surveys when we did our strategic plan. We're doing some good ones as well.
Holco does the national community survey It's this very large standardized, I think it's NSC. Wilsonville does it, and it's like 35 grand and a couple hundred questions, and they mail it out to people. But On Point, they were very city specific. They talked about if they were awarded the project, they would come out and talk to council, present to you guys, and brief and refine what questions you all want. So it wouldn't be them, they'd have their basic package, but they would allow you guys to refine it as you would.
Question really quick, where did these this information come from? Was it? We didn't put this out for RFP, we just reached out.
I just reached out to them. Yep.
Got it.
Yep. I looked at what other cities were doing and some companies out there and just reached out to them, just to get a general idea.
Would this be something we could put out?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's small, but
Yeah, small. Yeah.
So one other point that I think is worth considering. If we use a company that has done this for lots of cities, then not only are we gonna create our database, but we get to compare our data to other similar size and functioning cities. I think that's also a very interesting metric. And again, how we're doing, you know, and I think it can be very enlightening to say, okay, we're delivering this services, we're spending this much money, and we're getting, you know, performance ratings at this. How citywide, how much are they spending? How much is, and what kind of service rating are they getting? So those are really fascinating data points. Again, on stuff we do as council, we allocate resources, and ideally we want to allocate resources that are most efficient so we get the highest quality service to them. And to have that perspective is extremely helpful in our work here. So I would also advocate for a consulting firm that understand or has databases that we can, you know, marry up to.
I think we should maybe start just planning this for 2026. If we already did a whole bunch of surveys this year. They want to see like flower surveys or something, but we're not survey for fatigue and all that stuff. Waiting another 2 years, hopefully our budget is more normalized, but concrete. We know how much money we have. Spend it appropriately. We can fix. We can get bids at the appropriate time, and it's like I do agree that having a company do this correctly is valuable. I just think about like when we do this more than.
And for what's worth, I'm in complete agreement with now Councilman Miller about priorities. This isn't our priority. This is not our financial priority. The things that they've mentioned should be our priorities. I would hope that we'll have a better understanding of our financial picture as we develop our budget, and then we can revisit this and say, do we have the financial wherewithal to take on this project or not? If we don't, then I agree. We'll kick an additional year. But if we do, I think it's time and money well spent.
I do. If we have it, good money. I mean, not throwing bad money, but it's. I just want, we always talk about planning for the future, and I just put this in on a plan for 2026. We are doing a survey, and we start planning on where that money is going to come from. This budget year, next budget year, then we'll count the money available then. Especially if our audits are completed by then. But without planning ahead, like we can be in the same spot right now in 2 years, going, where's the money?
I guess my question is, what's the harm in trying to see what it would cost if it is something next year? We might not be in a position have the budget to make it happen. And I think the real cost would be taking out like city administrative bandwidth, having to research something. But if it's not, something it's gonna take a lot of this time. For the discussion to have with the budget. Process. And, you know, it may be something where we just, it's not the right time and we need to, push this another year, but the work that we're putting into it this year will time cost.
So that's my request. My request would be that the city administrator research surveying solutions that reflect the scope we just talked about, and then have that number as a potential project for 25 years. That would be.
It's like Jeopardy here. Who was first? Mr. Go.
I guess I totally understand the validity and what the data we get and what this does for this, the council and the city staff to make decisions. That's like at the bottom of my priority level. I want to get a fire chief paid. That's 10 grand right there. Let's get him paid where he needs to be. Let's figure out our finance department for him. But there's other things that are coming that we have to figure out before we even get to a survey that is frivolous. It's 10 grand, we know it. All right, we got that in the back of our brain, 10 grand, let's move forward. That's what we need to budget.
I echo Councilman Keller's sentiments. I want pay equity in this city prior to this, and I do feel we have a good survey data that could be pulled up from the University of Oregon planning. I agree with Mr. Compton that possibly 26, 27 budget, unless we magically have enough money to add this. I don't want to take more of City Administrator Bennett's time researching this, just checking with you both because we already have some data for this. And if we take the time to share, here's what I hope they'll send us. We look back at what the giant strategic plan and all the survey results they already gave us last year, then we have some good data. So it is, again, low, it's great. And yay, we did the University of Oregon plan. We got grants out of working with them, and now we're doing the downtown plan. We have some data to move forward. So it is kind of like, oh, we can wait 2 years. We've got data. If we all look back at it and or make a committee to go. But I don't want to spend more of his time. We've lost two staff members, as we know. We're looking at a change and or how to move forward with the CFO. We're looking at the charter that hopefully will get passed with the vote this fall, so we don't have to spend money on a judicial review of the illegal elements in the charter that don't allow us to raise funds. It's not fiduciarily responsible according to the Constitution. So if it doesn't pass, then there might be funds spent on our attorney for that. And then we'll know where our financial standing is more after that election as well. So I don't really feel that much more time or money needs to be spent on this now.
How much additional time would it take you to just have a line item? So I feel like when we're going through the budget review process, we put all of the the desires in here. Then we see what the picture looks like, and then we start cutting the things aside or those are unnecessary. Like, so in my opinion, put all the wishes in there to begin with. We start looking at we have to start making those tough decisions. Did we pay for this $10,000 survey, or did we put that towards our marriage? I mean, I think that's a great conversation to have, but it really makes it a lot more. It's a easier conversation to have when we have the. So I guess my question to you is how much extra time is spent on you to have some real numbers for us?
For reference, I've put probably 3-4 hours into this so far, not a huge amount. That is basic information. I'd say combined with different meetings, reach out to companies. 16 hours maybe, give or take. I mean, maybe I'm off, but to get basic ideas out to council and have them present to council as well. I don't think it's too much to at least get a basic number for a budget. I think once we get deeper into it, maybe select the company to do it more hours, but get to a number, enter in a budget. 16 hours. give or take. Yeah,
Is anybody opposed to doing that legwork before the budget season? Like, and I think I saw you nod your head saying that we're opposed to this,
No,
I mean. I think I know where you guys stand on, maybe implementing it, but are you opposed to at least having that discussion when we get to budget?
I trust Gordon's professional opinion. This time allows for this to happen. And that's on good. I mean, that's fine, it's cool. But if this is the dessert that's on his plate, if it's done, then he has to do it. Need to be done first.
I don't like-
It's just. Yeah.
Councilor Keller is right, though. We're probably looking about 10 grand give or take. It's probably where we're gonna.
All right, anything else? We got 2 minutes left. Does anybody have anything else before we close the workshop? Is that helpful for you?
Yes, yep.
Okay, so let's go ahead and finish the workshop and take a quick 2-minute break for our concept.
Can we motion to adjourn? I can never remember workshops. Okay. Workshop adjourned. So for those of you online, we're ending the meeting, workshop, opening a new one for the regular session.